Hey friends, what's up? Philip here with Points of Phillip, and I actually want to talk to you about something kind of superpower that I learned about the Fidelity Rewards Visa. So, for those of you that are kind of in the know with me, I personally, my wife and I were selected as adoptive parents by a birth mom, so we're able to actually get a match. And so, well, that started getting me really super duper deep focused on how to best prepare financially for this eventuality, right? So the having a baby and then eventually having a kid who becomes a young adult. And so with that, I kind of did super duper research and I've been looking really into 529 plans. And well, it turns out that there's a perfect credit card that can actually help you earn and put money into a 529 plan. And so that's the Fidelity Rewards Visa. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and then kind of how this might actually change my credit card strategy moving forward. And so we're going to get into that. But before we do, I want to ask you guys to like and subscribe. Doing that helps me and YouTube know that what I'm doing is helpful for people like you. We also have some channel memberships available in a link below in the description. And if you're interested in that, that gives you membership only videos where I kind of go into specific points redemptions and tips and tricks on how to dominate the credit card game. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the Fidelity Rewards Visa. So this card gets you 2% cash back on every single purchase. Now, more importantly, it also has no annual fee, which is really, really nice. Now, it did recently actually undergo some pretty huge dramatic changes, which you can see in this video here. So this card actually now has no foreign transaction fees, but it also gets you TSA PreCheck and some very light travel protections. Now, we're not going to focus too much on that stuff because, well, that's for that other video, but what we're going to focus on the fact is that in order to actually get your rewards on the Fidelity Rewards Visa card, you can actually transfer it to any kind of brokerage type account with Fidelity. And so I can transfer it to a cash management account, but I can also transfer it to an IRA, right? So if I want to contribute to, use my cashback rewards to partially, meet my contribution limits for my IRA, my Roth IRA, or my traditional IRA, I can do that. However, I can also use my benefits to transmit my rewards to a 529 plan through Fidelity. Real quick though, before I dive into how the Fidelity Rewards Visa can help families save for college, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. As a dad-to-be, I've been thinking a lot more about keeping my family safe. And honestly, the last thing I want is for identity theft to derail our plans. That's where Aura comes in. Aura is an all-in-one identity theft protection and digital security platform. So they cover all the essentials. They do credit monitoring, data breach alerts, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. Aura scans the dark web for your financial and personal information. They also give you alerts if your social security number or accounts are being used, and they include extras like a US-based VPN, safe browsing, a password manager, and even an Experian credit lock. And honestly, for me, having that kind of protection just feels like one more way I can protect my family's future. Now, they've got flexible plans. So they have individual plans, couple plans, and family options. And what's really unique is their family plan covers up to 5 adults, unlimited kids, and all of your devices. Most competitors don't even come close to that. Aura often runs promotions too, so you can get started for as low as $9.99 a month with a 60-day money-back guarantee on annual plans. The family plan allows you to add your kids' social security numbers to the app as well, so you can monitor their accounts for identity theft. And this is one of my biggest fears. My new kid might not have much of a credit report when it comes time for them to get an apartment or a car when they grow up. The bottom line here is if you've ever worried about whether your data is floating around out there, Aura is an easy way to take back some control. Stop leaving yourself vulnerable to data breaches. Go to my sponsor, aura.com/pointswithphillip to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. Now the link's in the description below. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into how the Fidelity Rewards Visa can help set your kids up for college or any kind of educational expense. Let's get into it. So the 529 plan is really interesting. The baseline here, right? 2% cash back on every single card. If we use this card for every single purchase, right? How much could we actually make? So I went ahead and I actually did some calculations. So my wife and I, we currently budget to spend about 5,600 in a month, right? So on our monthly expenses, so that's dining, that's monthly bills, things like that, right? So $5,600 a month times 2%, that's $112 in rewards each month. Now, if we take that and we annualize it, so times 12, then that comes up to $1,344 per year. Now, if we do that for, say, 15 years, that's $20,160. So even if the only thing I do to save for my kids' college or education expenses is just swipe my card and make sure I put every single bit of that reward into a 529 account, then I can save $20,000, more than $20,000 over the course of 15 years. And so if I wanted to do more than that, let's set aside another 200, then, well, even if I doubled that, so if I said another $112, then we're looking at $40,000 over the course of 15 years set aside for college. And so this is huge, right? So let's get into what a 529 saving plan is and why you might want to do it. So a 529 plan is any earnings grow tax deferred. So essentially you can actually use this to kind of play the market a little bit, because every time you buy and sell a security, it's not considered a taxable event, at least yet. And so that tax deferred part, though, is as long as you actually make a qualified kind of withdrawal, right? So if you use it for, say, college tuition or for room and board, as long as that child is at least a part-time student, they don't pay any taxes on that withdrawal at all. And so you're able to, now you're using post-tax dollars if you do make a contribution, because you can't claim it as a deduction on your taxes, at least not to my knowledge. So again, I'm not a financial professional. I'm just someone trying to figure this out so I can help my family. But any growth is not taxed as long as it's withdrawn for specific purposes. And that's huge. Now, Fidelity's 529 plans don't have any annual account fees, and so that's really nice. Now, on Fidelity's website, it says that withdrawals for qualified education expenses are free from federal income tax. For non-qualified individuals, the portion attributed to investment earnings is subject to federal and state income taxes plus a 10% federal penalty. So it's very similar to IRA rules if you just take it out and say want to buy a car with it or something like that, right? Now, let's take a look at this. Contributions up to $19,000 annually are not subject to the federal gift tax. So essentially, basically, as long as you don't give up to $19,000, it's in a year, it's kind of, you don't have to worry about gift tax. Now, in a 529, though, you can combine 5 years worth of contributions or $95,000. So even if I do give my kid this account when they start college at $40,000, that is not a gift, at least in the eyes of the current laws of the IRS, right? And so that's really nice. Now, the individual 529 account beneficiary can be changed to an eligible family member to use for their qualified education expenses. So let's say that Junior decides not to go to college. There's different ways, right? So because some 529 plans will actually allow you to withdraw for trade schools or community college or things like that. So, first of all, there's that option, but then you could also change your beneficiary to another family member, say if they wanted to go to college. So like if my wife wanted to go and get a master's degree or something, then this could be changed. Or if I had another kid that wanted to go somewhere too, that could be good. Now, another great thing about 529 is 529 assets have a relatively small effect on federal financial aid eligibility because they're considered assets of the parent, and that's rated differently than assets of the child. So when I open a 529 savings plan, that's my money, and my child is just my beneficiary. And so they can withdraw it tax-free for certain expenses, but on paper, at least according to the FAFSA documents, that is my asset, not theirs. And so that can make a pretty substantial difference. Now, you can also choose from a menu of portfolios managed by professional fund managers. Now, what that's code for is there's going to be a quarterly fee for managing that money. So I would rather do it on my own, but through Fidelity, you have to pay that fee. So basically take that with what you will. But obviously, if I'm putting in 40,000 and it's growing over the course of 15 years, hopefully it's going to be more than 40,000, right? So anyway, so there is some state tax incentives for contributions though. So we have, it's not it's a state-based program. And so your state, depending on if you have income tax, could give you some kickbacks for those contributions. Now, I live in Florida. We don't have state income tax because we tax our hotels 10 to 15%. So thanks so much the next time you come to Orlando for paying for my income tax. I really appreciate it. Now, the property taxes, those get high. But anyway, so the 529 plan is really solid. So there's a lot of different reasons, a lot of different ways that we can benefit from this, which is really, really helpful. And so the 529 plan, it seems like a slam dunk. Just by switching all of my spending to the Fidelity Rewards Visa card, and then also making sure I transfer all of those rewards to my 529 account that I set up with my child in mind, this allows me to significantly improve their lives, their future, in something that actually doesn't really impact my savings on a day-to-day basis. Now, there is a cost though, right? Because so we're going to take a look at the microeconomics 101 version of this, right? And that's, there is an opportunity cost, right? So if I am using my 529 plan through Fidelity, what I'm doing first of all is I'm not getting any more free travel, right? So those Amex points, they can go away. But also there's an opportunity cost for the child as well. So let's say if I wanted to use Charles Schwab, I could actually, if I held the Charles Schwab Platinum card, the Gold card, and the Blue Business Plus, I could get 2% back, or 2 points per dollar back on everything. But then I would also get 4 points per dollar on my grocery purchases and my, essentially my option for groceries and dining. But then I can also get 5% or 5 points per dollar back on flights and hotels. And all of that's in membership rewards points, which at the end of the year, I can actually cash out up to 1 million points of 1.1 cents per point. And so if I have a Charles Schwab 529 savings plan, then I might be able to actually save a little bit more. And so kind of essentially, but I also will be spending a lot more, right? So the annual fees for the Platinum card currently are at $695, expected to go to $895 or higher. And then the Gold card is $325. And then, of course, the Blue Business Plus card doesn't actually have a fee. So if I'm looking for ways to save money, but also ways to ensure that what I'm doing is setting my child up for success for the future, then the Fidelity Rewards Visa card could actually be the best option. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I really appreciate you being here and kind of listening to this discussion. Let me know what you guys think, and I can't wait to see you guys until next time. Have a great day.